Welcome to the Piece of Me podcast, the place to find different ways to bring enjoyment, simplicity, happiness, and of course, more peace into your life. Life gets busy, noisy, and at times it's messy. I'm here to help you clean things up and put peace back in its place. Each episode, I'll share tips, ideas, and fresh perspectives to help you live your best life. Hi, friends. It's Lexi Lee. If you're new here, welcome to the podcast. If you're not new, welcome back. I'm so glad you'll be joining me for today's episode, which is all about how to be happy when you're single. So, the reason I wanted to dive a little bit more into this topic is because there was a really huge response to the episode for Valentine's Day, which was episode 15 on how to love Valentine's Day when you're single or struggling. So I knew by the reaction to that episode, we needed to come back to this topic. And looking at the demographics of our listeners, people have either experienced a divorce or haven't yet been married. So either way, a majority of you are single due to those circumstances. So I figured this would be a great time to get a little bit more into this topic since this whole podcast is about finding the enjoyment, the peace, and living your best life. So why not try to find the happy when you're single? So again, if you're listening to this episode, it's likely that you're looking for some kind of support or some ideas on just how to enjoy the single life until you find your person. Now, in my opinion, dating is a part-time, full-time job. That's how I looked at it. And we're going to get more into that a little bit later. But in the meantime, I had polled my girl and guy friends, some single, some married, some divorced, to compile some ideas and some mindset shifts on how to make the most of your situation. All right, so we're going to start with just the simple statistic, and you've likely heard this before, that there are nearly 8 billion, that's billion with a B, 8 billion people in this world. Now, I get it that it's really annoying to hear that when you're looking for someone likely in your own zip code. But realize that everyone we meet isn't meant to be our future husband or future wife. I'll put it another way. If you think about the people you work with, are you close with every single person you work with? Not just the ones in your department or the ones on your team, but with everyone within the company? Probably not. You're probably close with a couple people that you work with, and you're probably professional or cordial with the rest. So we're not meant to be friends with everyone we meet. We aren't meant to be best friends with everyone that we work with, and we aren't meant to marry every person we date. So let's just start by removing that pressure that the next person we meet could be the one. Now, I get it. There's a lot of excitement to that, and of course, we have that hope, and it could be that way, and that person you now meet and go on a date with could be the one. But let's try to remove some of that pressure. Because if we remove that pressure of finding the one and instead just enjoy finding someone, it kind of gives us a little bit of a shift. It takes that pressure off our shoulders and the shoulders of the person that we're going on a date with. So keeping in mind, this is all about how to be happy when you're single. So let's talk about the whole dating process. And I know just by saying that, depending on where you are in the dating process or your experiences or kind of the stories that have come out with that, that you've probably shared with your friends and family on some of the crazy dating experiences you've had, you might be rolling your eyes. You might be breathing a huge just sigh of like, oh my gosh, been there, done that. But again, we're going to try to find the enjoyment in the entire process. So again, if we're going to remove the pressure of trying to find the one and instead just enjoy finding someone, let's enjoy the process of the date. So as you're going on dates, enjoy the restaurants that you dine at, the meals that you may have tried, or even the adventures your date has taken you on. Enjoy the laughs, and I'm sure there's going to be some crazy stories because that's always fun. Enjoy the conversation and so forth. So meaning just enjoy the date for what it is. Now, if they aren't a match, they could still be a good friend. You never know. So just enjoy your time. So that's my first kind of tip for the single people out there, is just enjoy the experience, enjoy the date for what it is, and just take that pressure off. Okay. Now, if you've been single for a while, you might feel that everybody you meet just doesn't have what you're looking for. You know, that they're the problem, not you, that kind of mindset, if you know what I'm saying. And that might be really accurate. But sometimes, especially if we're somebody who has gone through a breakup fairly recently, meaning within the last year or so, then sometimes we might need to do a little bit more internal work first. So here's what I mean. Now, this next kind of tip is to ask yourself, how are you showing up and where? So this is a two-part question. The first is, how are you showing up? Meaning, are you carrying any baggage from your previous relationship into the dating scene? And I mean emotional baggage. Are you carrying that same emotional baggage into your personal life? Do you talk about your ex to your friends constantly? Is your ex the topic of conversation almost in every discussion you have? Do you really feel that you're over your ex? Do you feel you're in a healthy place and you're actually ready to leave the past in the past and give the next person a chance, like a real chance? So here's a quick test. If you're somebody listening to this and you're saying, yeah, I'm healthy, I'm in a good place to date, I'm ready for this. Let me ask you this. If somebody mentions your ex's name, how do you react? How does hearing their name feel? Do you get angry, bitter, sad, or resentful? Like, what does that spark in you? What are the first thoughts that come to mind when you think of your ex? So if just hearing your ex's name causes like an internal, chain reaction inside of you, then you're not healed enough yet. So the same with anyone that you meet on a date. If they bring up their ex way too much or have a lot of venom, that's what I always call it. Venom is like the bad words, the bad stuff. If they have a lot of venom to spit, they aren't healed either. So you can't be fully open to someone new if you're still hanging on to the things that your ex did or said to you, or how much they wronged you, or what a terrible person you think they are. So this is a really big step in being happy single, is really the healing process and letting go of that breakup. Now, you don't have to admit that you're not over your ex to anybody but yourself. That's a really private thing. But spend some time thinking about that and realizing if you are. Now, if you're being real with yourself, that's really where your healing process is truly going to begin. So again, before anything else, work on healing that wound first. Working on yourself, as you've heard it so many times before, is the most important project you're ever going to invest in. That's true. It's really hard, to look internally and recognize our own flaws. There's a personal level of, protection we all have, which sometimes keeps us from noticing what we're not good at. And were there things in your last relationship maybe that you didn't like the way that you showed up? This is another way to think about it. Was there a side of you that you weren't proud of? Or is there just more healing to do? Now, once you've done that time to think about how you feel about your ex, if you really feel you're truly over them, and if there's stuff that you have to work on within yourself, a really great way to go about doing this, of course, there's certainly therapy, which is fantastic. Journaling, which I talk about a lot, and that is very therapeutic. Of course, time, time heals all wounds, and friends, family can really help support this effort. And just know that it's totally okay for you to expect the same of this in the people you're dating too, meaning you deserve someone who is also coming from a healthy place to be with you too. Okay, so we're talking about that internal work because, again, we have to be in the right place, the right mindset to be ready to be in the dating scene or to just be okay being single. If we are single and trying to be happy, we have to heal those wounds first and not feel emotionally caught up on someone from our past. Now, the next part of that is where you're showing up. So if you remember, that was a 2-part question of how you're showing up, which we just talked about. And the next part is about where you're showing up. So if you're single and you're ready to meet someone new, how are you putting yourself out there to meet somebody new? And it seems like a simple question, but it's true. Like, where are you putting yourself? If you're not on a dating app, if you're not going out socially, if you don't want your friends to play matchmaker, what's your solution? How is it going to happen? How are you going to meet somebody? Are you putting yourself in places that would attract the kind of person you're looking for? Or are you just hoping that the universe is going to drop this person on your front lawn, right? Just be honest with yourself. Make sure you're putting yourself out there too, so that people know you are out there looking to date. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about that. And adding on to that, when it comes to dating, and I think this is also about being happy being single, because the dating process does take time. And as much as we're honest with ourselves and our internal healing process and making sure that we're in a healthy space by ourselves, is to also just be clear with your intentions and just understand that of the people you date. So I want to give you a scenario to kind of help you better understand what I mean. Let's say we have a guy and a girl who are going on a date. Now, it could be a girl and a girl, it could be a guy and a guy, doesn't really matter, okay? But I'm going to use a guy and a girl because it's easier to keep it together in the story. So let's just say a girl is going on a date with a guy, and the girl is looking for something casual. So she's not looking for anything serious. She just wants to see where it goes. And again, she's really just looking for something casual. Okay. Now, the guy could be looking for something more serious. Maybe he wants to settle down. Maybe he wants children and to start a family. But either way, he's looking for something more serious. Now, both of those people could be on the very same date. Now, they have completely 2 different mindsets as to what they're looking for. Now, the reason I bring that up is because I think it's so important that we are clear in what we're looking for. So, I'm also a big believer in not wasting someone's time or even my own time. I like to be upfront and honest. So I think, when you are being forward, it can scare some people, some potential dates away, but that's okay. It really is okay if you happen to kind of scare some potential dates away, because that just means those people were not right for you to begin with. So don't worry about that. But I do think it's really good to, 1, just know what it is you are looking for, and then 2, put it out there and say, well, I'm looking for this, so that you and the person you're on a date with have this same idea, and you're not that girl and guy who have 2 completely different ideas on the same date. All right, now let's talk about, we talked a lot about that internal work and, putting the work into ourselves so that we come from a really healthy space and place when it comes to dating, and also just to be single. It's, if you're not even interested in dating, but you just want to enjoy the single life, being in a place where you're not hurt by a breakup is a really good place to be, but it takes time to get there. So let's take this a step further, and I want to talk about physical health and wellness. Now, I think a lot of people, when it comes to, divorce, there's something called the divorce diet. When people do break up, they feel they have to lose weight or go into the gym, and I understand too, sometimes your appetite is not so much there, but people feel they have to have these very big physical changes, like these physical makeovers, to make themselves be attractive again when it comes to the dating life, or just to be single. Now, what I want to talk about, because I'm not going to talk about that, when I say physical health and wellness, I want to talk about activities that you can do that will improve your confidence. So I'm not talking about physical in the sense of losing weight or anything about appearance. I'm talking about confidence. So those are different things. So if we initiate the breakup, or maybe we were broken up with, the breakup still hurts, and it can still leave us feeling a bit off. So what can you do to get your confidence back? Now, confidence is actually the number one quality that people are attracted to. And I think of it as like humble confidence, not like cocky confidence, because I do think there's a fine line there. So what is it that you can do that's going to help you with your confidence? It could be walks with a friend, picking up a new hobby, maybe joining a book club, going to that fitness class, because I'm thinking all about those endorphins. Doing something consistently, anything consistently that's going to add to your personal appearance, that's going to give you confidence. So what am I talking about? Things like weekly at-home facials or at-home pedicures, just adding a little bit of like a scented lotion or a perfume every day, just something that will give you a little confidence, whatever that is. Only you can decide that, but you just want to get back to feeling like yourself again, just better, right? We want to get the confidence back. Okay, so trying to figure out what those things are, ask yourself what things do you like, what's available to you, and what will help you feel more confident. So we'll take that a step even further. I did mention physical change. Now, how I want to position this is thinking about the physical change you can make that's about making yourself into a better version of you. So is there anything that you stopped doing in your relationship that added to your appearance? So we've all heard that saying that when people get into a relationship, they get comfortable, they stop putting in effort, they stop trying, okay? So is there anything, when you look back on your last relationship or two, is there anything, any physical changes that you want to make? And is there anything that you want to get back to? So meaning, it could be anything from like a change of hairstyle, like a color or a cut. Maybe you've been waiting to cut your hair and you just haven't. Or maybe you want to completely change your style and your clothes or your appearance in that way. Change up your makeup or hygiene and even health. Now, I know this might sound kind of weird. This might sound like a vague idea, but let me suggest this of how you can really go anywhere with this idea. I have a friend who stopped smoking to be healthier. So that was one of the things that she decided to do after a breakup, was to stop smoking, which was very hard. And at age 35, this is the same person, decided to get braces. So that was something she did to her physical appearance that she really wanted to do to get her confidence back. So she got braces. Now I'm saying braces, not Invisalign. So that's, those are the old school, people can see that. So that's what she did to better her physical appearance. I think that's awesome. All right. Now, as we're talking about being content and happy in this single life. So there are going to be things and opportunities that are presented to you. There's going to be invitations extended to you. There are going to be times you're invited to things, or something might just kind of pop up and you almost feel like you don't want to do it because you're single and you don't have someone else to go with. My advice is to not wait. Do not wait. Sometimes we feel that we need someone to go with us to do that thing. It could be a vacation or a dinner or a wedding. There could be a new hotspot that everybody is talking about and wanting to check out. It doesn't matter. Now, the thing is that you don't need somebody. You can absolutely bring a friend. You can bring a coworker, you can bring a family member. Here's the big thing, and this might make you a little uncomfortable. You can go by yourself, and it can be an amazing experience. So don't put your life on hold because you're single. And here's the other way to look at it. You can still go and experience that thing. And then when you do find somebody and you're in a relationship, you can bring that person to whatever it is that you've already experienced to share it with them. So now it has another special meaning. So whatever it is that you do want to do, go do it. Don't wait. Okay. Speaking of wanting to do something, is there anything that you used to do that you stopped doing because you were in a relationship? So when we're in a relationship, we tend to fall into something called a relationship routine. So we sometimes pick up the habits of our partners or, just based on their schedule. We really try to change what it is that we do so that we can either have the most time with them or help balance with kids or whatever it might be. So we fall into this relationship routine. Now, we're all guilty of this, so don't beat yourself up. So maybe it could be a million different things, but maybe you stopped visiting a friend on your way home from work because you moved in with your partner and now you're on the other side of town and it's completely out of the way. Or maybe you worked out more often, but because you wanted to see your partner more, maybe you scaled it back. Maybe you're not working out as often. Maybe you took more naps. I know that sounds silly, but it's true. Maybe you went to the farmers markets every weekend. Maybe you went to the park. Maybe you wanted to get a dog, but you couldn't because your partner was allergic. Do you see where I'm going with this? That there's things that we, that we change when we're in a relationship, which is completely natural. So think about the things that maybe you compromised. Maybe you kind of gave up or you scaled back. And what are those things? Can you bring those things back now to just kind of make up the routine that you really enjoyed, to get back to who you were and to get back to the things that were important to you. So that will also help you feel more enjoyment during that single life. All right. So now, again, we're talking a lot about being single, but out on the dating scene. So here is a tip from one of my close friends. And I think it's a great one. Now, this person takes dating breaks. So one of my friends will take a dating break when they feel burnt out from all of the dating. And usually this happens every couple of weeks. So she'll put herself out there for dating and, she it doesn't really go so great. And then she gets a little bit tired of it. So then she deletes the dating app, takes a break for a couple of weeks. And then when she feels ready, then she goes back to the dating app. So she just takes these little periods of time where she's just taking a little break. And I think that's a great idea. Plus for her, when she is ready, to kind of put herself back out there, then she's showing up the way she wants to. And she's also in the right mindset. Okay, here's another tip. And this one is one I actually used to use when it came to dating, and it's made such a big difference. And I think it also helps a lot when it comes to making the most of the single life, but also trying to make the most of the dating life. So my tip is to go on shorter dates. Now, I mentioned before that dating is a full-time, part-time job. Now, I say it jokingly, but it really can consume our time, meaning your evenings, your weekends. It's a lot. Dating is a lot. So it's all about the balance. Now, if you feel like dating is taking over your life, you can scale it back, just like taking those dating breaks. And again, don't make finding a partner your number one priority. Make living a good life your priority. Make yourself the priority. And then another tip here, and this is what I mean about shorter dates, is to meet people for coffee or a glass of wine or a beer or something like that, but meet people for a drink. So that drink can be any beverage that you feel comfortable with. Again, coffee shop or a bar, whatever you choose. But meet them for a drink, not for dinner. There's a difference. So we're all about going on the shorter dates. So I'll even ask you a question. If you've ever been on a date, how soon into that date did you know if you wanted to see that person again? Probably pretty quickly. Some people say it's 10 minutes or less. You might have known in the first 5 minutes, or maybe you knew within the first hour. But you knew pretty quickly if you wanted to see that person again. So if you can keep the dates shorter, you really probably don't even need that much time anyway, right? So what you'll be doing with that is you're going to free up your time. And the other thing is you can turn those first dates into the quick dates, right? So if you're going on a couple of dates a week, it can feel like a lot if one date, let's say, is a dinner. It could be a 2-hour dinner. So if you went on, say, 2 dates a week and they're dinners, that can consume a lot of your time. So going on shorter dates, You can still have a great time, but you don't need as much time. And then it gives you that balance back in your life for when you're single, but still dating. And then the other nice perk is whoever is picking up the tab will appreciate the drink tab more than they will the dinner tab. Okay, so another tip as we go through our list here on how to be single and happy. This might seem like an obvious one, but a lot of us aren't doing it. So, and you know who you are if you're guilty, and that's to block your ex. Now, even if in your breakup, even if it was amicable and it was friendly and there's no bad blood and you're still trying to be friends, if there was any kind of emotion in your relationship or you dated for any significant amount of time, or if your relationship was serious, even if you are wanting the best for that person, if you're wanting the best for that person or whatnot, that's great. But for the meantime, block your ex, okay? You just want to have a little bit of personal space that they're not into because they might already be in your mind. You don't need them in your social media feed too. You need a little bit of space. That space is healthy for them because they shouldn't know what you're up to and you shouldn't know what they're up to. And a lot of times looking at an ex online is a little bit tempting. So if we just block them, that helps with that. Now, another part of that process is to block them on email or, cell phone, texting, whatever. You want to just block them on any type of outlet that they have to you so that you create this kind of, it's like a boundary. You're just kind of creating this healthy boundary around yourself so that you can go out and do other things and not be distracted by what your ex is doing. Now, if you do happen to land a new relationship and things are going well, and 6 months from now or whatever, you decide to resend that friend request or whatever, that follow to your ex, well, that's a different story because you're probably in a different place. But chances are your new partner probably won't appreciate that anyway. So nothing really good comes out of being friends with your ex. Just doesn't. And I know that's not what you want to hear, but it's just one of those things. So just go ahead and minimize the contact. Another thing here too is depending on how long or how you knew each other, you might need to be careful what you share with the friends that you shared. So if you have friends with an ex that you know your ex still talks to and you still talk to because you're friends, be careful with this person. That person might be feeling very pulled in either direction. They want to be friends with you. They want to be friends with your ex. They're kind of trying to stand on that neutral ground. So my suggestion is don't put your friend in that position to begin with. And also just limit, because this is a way to do it, is limit what you share with that friend. You don't need to share with that friend these things because if the ex is asking about you, your shared friend might go back and tell them. And the whole idea here is to not be sharing and to have that healthy boundary. So again, don't overshare with your shared friends. Okay, now as we're coming to the end of this episode, we have a couple more things here. And I think that, as we kind of recap, there was a lot of ideas in here about how to really be in a healthy place when it comes to being single and to be happy while you're single, whether you're dating or you're not dating. Either or, it's your choice. We talked a lot about doing that internal work and just making sure that you're in the best place as you go through this process. That the first thing is really getting you in a healthy place where your breakup wound is healed so that you can show up the best for yourself and for the potential people that you're meeting, right? For those dates. All right, so let's talk about kind of just the whole thing about being single a little bit more. Now, some friends will tell you being single is the best, and other friends might tell you being in a relationship is the best, right? Now, there's great things about being single, and there are great things about being in a relationship. Sometimes the freedom of not having to check in with somebody or having more closet space, getting to see your friends more, or having more time to do the things that you love again. Those things in itself can feel just so great. And I want to share a quote with you that I heard recently. It was I don't even remember where I heard this, but when I heard it, I think it was in a show or a movie. And I had to write it down because I really loved this. The quote is, "Life is all about peaks and valleys. There are a lot of good times and bad times. But what people don't realize is you spend a lot of time right in the middle." That was the end of the quote. So I thought that was really interesting because it's a lot about kind of being content in the middle space. Now, being single and being taken are part of the ebb and flow of life. So you can choose whether being single is the peak or the valley, but you will find love again. Now, the hard part, I think, is not knowing when that will happen. So in the meantime, just enjoy the single life and all the great things that come with it. So as they say, it's not about, it's not just about the destination, it's also about the journey. And then lastly, I want to leave you with this. And this really applies to so many things in life, especially how you live your life, especially as you're single. Just know that everything from here on out is a choice. Just like how you choose to see the single life, how you choose to take advantage of what the single life looks like, or how you choose to show up, or who you choose to spend time with, how you choose to heal, etc. It's all a choice. And during difficult times, we don't necessarily feel like we have choices, but oftentimes we have many, and they're in every single move that we make. So use the single time to enjoy all the things. Use the single time to better yourself. Use the single time to enjoy the dating experiences. Use the single time to spend more time working on you. So, in summary, it's all a choice, and you have a lot of them, but the choice is always yours. So that's it for this episode. I hope that it helps because you can be single and happy. All right, my friends, I will talk to you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. Okay, friends, before you go, please rate this show. Your 5-star rating allows this show to reach more listeners just like you who could benefit from the topics being discussed. I appreciate you joining me. Follow the Piece of Me podcast on Instagram and stay connected.